Shalom, Ka'ala Yahweh, Ba'Shem Yahushai, Ba'Shem Rakol Kodash. Double honors my teachers, the apostles and elders, the great millstone. Peace and mercy to the elect, who are the house of David reborn again in this generation. And shalom to the 130 Yasharallah, who today are known as the Negroes, Latinos, and Native Indians, who before losing their true heritage were known as, and still are, the true Hebrew Israelites of the Holy Bible. In today's lesson, we're going to talk about the encroaching war, which is about to engulf the entire world, which the world refers to as World War III. But let's read this first. This is Matthew 24:6. And ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that ye be not troubled, for all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. Alright, so there was an article that, well, first of all, that's just one of the prophecies that the Lord, whose true Hebrew name is Yahweh, which is Hebrew for He is salvation, said would be one of the signs before his second coming, right? When the world would see the Messiah come in His glory, okay? That being in UFOs and with godlike power, okay, to destroy the powers of this world and establish His kingdom, okay, which us Israelites, the Negroes, Latinos, Native Indians, would co-reign with Him and keep the whole world in order, and everybody would be worshiping the Lord of the Bible. Okay, now that being said, this is an article that came from Zero Hedge, and let's go and just read it. It says top Australian generals leaked classified briefing says war with China a high likelihood. Right, you see that? See, because these devils, they know what's up, man. They understand that they need to start a world war to finalize the new world order, right? Because all these things that you're seeing happening right now, the C-19 lockdowns, the economy destruction, the high mounting inflation, the civil unrest around the world, all of that, yes, like we've mentioned, is part of bringing forth the new world order. But the way that it's going to crescendo, right, the way this whole thing is going to end, is that these devils are going to stage a world war. Now, that doesn't mean that nobody's going to die or that things aren't going to actually happen. No, there literally is going to be a war that breaks out. But those higher ups who are involved in it, they are going to, like, they all know what's going to happen, man. This is something that's been planned out since the 1700s, man. All right, this is when you read Albert Pike's 3 letters to the Italian politician. There's he walks through the Freemasons and ultimately the secret occult leaders of the world's plans to bring the world into a one world order, right? And that is with 3 world wars, right? And we are about to go into the next and last world war, right? But let's go and read this article and let's see what's afoot. It says, the leaked content of a fiery anti-China speech and secretive briefing to elite military personnel by one of Australia's top generals has landed on the front pages of major newspapers from Sydney to Melbourne to London on Tuesday. You see that? See, these things don't get leaked on accident, okay? These things are leaked on purpose, so that way they can rise up the Chinese and get everybody all pissed off and get everybody on board, man. See, this is what's going on. It's lucky, Akim. I got these morning allergies, man. They're just killing me. But you know, the show must go on. But let's continue. The confidential address issued by Major General Adams Finlay, who was then commander of Australia's Special Forces and currently advises the Australian Defence Force, had focused on a coming war with China, which he said is a high likelihood. Publication of the speech's full key controversial contents is now threatening to plunge China-Australia relationships past breaking point. Right, and that's true because if you've been keeping up with Australia's news lately, there's been a lot of back and forth against China in Australia, right? And this is obvious because China and Australia, they're right next to each other, so they're bound to be more at a breaking point with each other. On April 2020, briefing given by the country's most elite special forces unit was obtained and first published by the Sydney Morning Herald and The Age, and quickly spread to the front page of London's The Times. The general's words were leaked by anonymous sources. He had detailed that China is now engaged in gray zone covert operations against Australia and Western allied interests, and that Aussie defenses forces must prepare for a high likelihood of this turning into direct war. In this gray zone, you more likely have witnessed this yourself, right? This goes to where you're seeing China buying up a lot of real estate around the world, namely a lot of places here in America. You always hear about how Chinese are buying up houses with cash, and there's like 10 to 20 families living there. Well, this is what's happening because China, instead of with the full force of invasion, what they're doing is they're silently buying up property, man, and then they're moving in their equipment. Right now, there's reports that apparently there's whole cargo containers in storage around the world, right, around key structural areas that contain missiles and explosions from Chinese governments, which when the time comes they're gonna go ahead and deploy those things, man, right? And that's what this is talking about. It says, let's continue. It says, Major Finley was heard in the leaked brief saying, "Who do you reckon the main regional threat is?" General Finley asked his troops and officers before answering China. He continued, "Okay, so if China is a threat, how many special forces brigade in China? You should know there are 26,000 Chinese Special Operations Forces personnel." The revelation comes at a moment of hardened and tense relationships with Beijing on trade, diplomatic, and even military fronts, despite China's long being Australia's biggest single trading partner. The Sydney Morning Herald summarized further of the leaked briefing contents as follows. They say, General Finley told his troops that if the threat of conflict was realized, the Australian Defence Force needed to rely not only on traditional air, land, and sea capabilities, but also on Australia's ability to use cyber and space warfare. Right, and there is the Australian Edomites' reason to go into space. Right, when you see these Australians, even though they don't call themselves Americans, they're still referred to themselves as Caucasian. Okay, and that is because they are the biblical Edomites, right? And these Edomites, they've taken over the world, right? This is why they run America, Australia, New Zealand, London, the Netherlands, Sweden, Switzerland, Russia, and so on, man. Anywhere the Caucasians basically are Edomites people, right? So this is why you're gonna start seeing them all have the same sort of agenda, right? In this case, talking about the need to go into space. Well, the real need to go into space is because these devils are going to get ready to fight against the second coming of the Lord. They literally are going to try to fight God when he comes back to earth. Okay, continuing. He also highlighted the need for the Australian Defence Force to reassert its presence and play first grade in Southeast Asia and the Southwest Pacific, describing how the military had uncovered information showing China was seeking to exploit are Australia's absence in the region. We need to make sure we don't lose momentum, get back in the region, General Finley said, highlighting Australia's close ties to Indonesia. It says, words sure to add more fuel to the fire of Chinese officials' outrage, Finley was further described as saying China knew Western democracies have peace, and then when they cross a line, we get really angry. Then we start bombing people, China said. Let's be smarter. Let's just play below the threshold before it goes to war. The Sydney Morning Herald quoted him as saying, and that's true, man, because you see China, they're playing a very smart game, man, right? Because even though these Edomites are trying to take over the world, China also is trying to assert their position in the world power, because they actually think they're going to be the next rulers of this world, right? Along with all these other people in power, right? You have a lot of people vying to be the next top dog after America collapses. But that's not going to happen, because the Lord's coming back and he's going to rule forever. And more. General Finley said that to stop war from breaking out, Australia's military must compete against the coercive constraints imposed on Australia by China in undertaking its own gray zone missions. Excuse me. Australia's aim was to put the adversary at a disadvantage, put us at an advantage, and avoid war, right? So that's the devil talking, man. War through, peace is war, right? These devils are basically saying that they need to build up their military forces so that way they could be at peace, right? He's certainly not the first top Aussie official to strongly suggest that a near future war is coming, but it's being viewed as a more serious, given it is classified briefing to special forces commanders, and thus can't be chalked up to a politician expressing opinion or speculation, however provocative, right? And what is that remind you of? This is Psalms 10 and 5. His ways are always grievous, his judgments are far above out of his sight. As for all his enemies, he puffeth at them. Right? And that's what these Edomites do, man. They are always showing their enemies how ready they are to go to war, right? He's always showing them that it's that they're the top dog, right? That they're going to continue to do this, right? And when you look at this article here, it tells you here. There's another article from Zero Hedge. It says, the world's biggest problems, Kissinger warns of, colossal dangers in growing U.S.-China tensions. Right? I'm just going to read the highlight part here of this devil's comments. It says, it's the biggest problem for America. It's the biggest problem for the world. Because if we can't solve that, then the risk is that all over the world, a kind of Cold World war will develop between China and the United States. Right? And this devil here, this top Edomite, this Amalekite Edomite, Kissinger, it's his plan, and along with the elites, to plunge the world into this world. Okay, so even though they're here pretending like they're trying to stop it and that things must be done to stop the war, they're actually behind the scenes, actually pushing for this thing to happen, man. Pushing for the weaponization of countries, for the stance, the embargoes to happen, right? Because they ultimately want to see their one world order come to fruition, and also ultimately they want to see their goals of world domination, which means to kill off 7.5 billion people in the world, come to pass. Okay, but you see, a lot of our people are blind to this, man. And why is this? Well, because the Lord has actually blinded a lot of people, man. So you see, namely 2/3 of our people, right? So that means 2 out of every 3 Negroes, Latinos, and Native Indians, they've been given a perception or a consciousness which is not finally tuned to what's actually happening, man. They are walking in blindness, man. Right? This is why you could tell this truth to certain people and they just give you a blank stare, like they don't understand, right? That's because they never studied or listened or heard or were raised with people, showing them that certain things matter, right? All they worry about is baseball games, basketball games, who's president, all this, superficial worldly things, man. And why is that? Because the Lord had blinded them, right? And this is explained in Isaiah 6:10. It says, make the heart of this people fat, and make their ears heavy, and shut their eyes, lest they see with their eyes and hear with their ears and understand with their heart and convert and be healed, right? So the Lord put a curse on these people, man. So that way they wouldn't see what's going on, man. So that way they couldn't hear, understand, see the things that are happening, and then put one and one together to realize that we're about, to go to war. And, so that way they don't get ready. They don't, seek for a higher power, man. Right? This shows you, man, how much the Lord did not want 2/3 of our people, right? And this is also why a lot of other people in the world are just also blinded, man, because they haven't been given the gift of a perception by the Lord, right? Verse 11. And this is how long it's going to last, by the way. It says, verse 11, then said I, Lord, how long? And he answered, until the cities be wasted without inhabitants, and the houses without man, and the land be utterly desolate. Right? And there you go, right? Because the Lord says, man, this is going to be like this until the very end, man, until the destruction comes, man, until this war rages on and these people are destroyed, man, until the nukes come and destroy this place, man. That's when these people are going to finally see, right? And but this ultimately goes back to just showing you how blessed we are, Akim, right? How lucky we are to know this truth, right? So when you're in a hard place and things are just getting heavy for you, man, realize, man, what we have been given is a gift from the Lord, right? This is Matthew 13:16. But blessed are your eyes, for they see, and your ears, for they hear. Right? And that's our blessing, man. That's the power that we've been given, that we can actually see what's going on, to understand that we now need to turn back to the Lord, to seek that salvation, to repent from our ways, and hope that the Lord will have mercy upon us, right? So hopefully this video was edifying, Akim. Hopefully that was a bit of news that you could use for your edification. So until next time, I want to give all praises to Yahweh, Ba'Shem Yahushai, Ba'Shem Kakwadash. Double honors my teachers, the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Peace and mercy to the elect. Shalom.